So I reckon the general view of lawn bowls and indoor bowls is that it's an old person's sport. Well, as you can see, it's not. It's a sport for all, and I want to explain to you the rules of lawn bowls. Let's go.
Nin explains the rules of bowls. The object of the game is to score more points than your opponent. Bowls is a sport that refers to two games that are played very similarly: flat green bowling and crown green bowling.
Okay. Now, okay, sort of, but if you think bowls, you think indoor and lawn bowls. Crown green is weird. Crown green is weird, okay? That's more of a northern UK thing, crown green. I don't understand it.
They look the same, but are actually quite different.
They don't look the
same. And I'll explain what those differences are.
They don't even look remotely the same.
Now, flat green bowling. Flat green bowling, otherwise known as lawn bowling, is the more popular variation of the sport worldwide. As the name implies, it's played on a flat surface known as a green, and can be played indoors or outdoors.
So usually what you do is you play, in the UK anyway, you play indoors during the winter because obviously it's cold, it's wet, that's what we're known for. And then you play outdoors in the summer when the weather is sort of nicer and more reliable. For me, I mainly play outdoors because it's a much better game in my opinion. You're not, every green is different on the grass. Some grass is longer, some shorter, some wobble, some turn a lot. It's a completely different game. I prefer the outdoor game in the sun with a beer. It's so good.
The green measures a maximum of 40 metres squared. This is split into 6 sections known as rinks, and the game is contested on a single rink. To start the game, a player will place a mat away from the end of the rink.
This is a little bit misleading almost because this is the Indoor World Championships. In the Indoor World Championships at Potter's Resort, they specifically make one rink. There is only one rink. Normally, you have 6 rinks. Normally. So you have players bowling next to you and you on the other side as well. So you're very rarely just playing on your own. There's rinks next to you.
While stood on the mat, they will roll a yellow or white target ball, known as a jack, down the green. This jack must travel at least 23 metres for it to be valid, and once it comes to a stop, the umpire centres the jack to the midline of the rink. That same player will start from the mat and roll one of their balls, known as a wood, down the green towards the jack. Once they've completed their shot, it's their opponent's turn to do the same. Players have 4 woods each, and take it in turns to ball their woods towards the jack.
There's lots of different stipulations. So normally if you play singles, you play 1 against 1. It is 4 woods each, and it's the first person to get to 21 shots. However, I was watching a video earlier and it was an American playing down in Australia, and he says it's first 18 shots. So slightly different, I suppose. But you can also play pairs, and the first 2 bowl their woods up, and then you swap over and the next 2 bowl the woods up. You can play triples, or you can play rinks, or there's something now called Aussie pairs, and that's just like, that's something slightly different. So singles is first 21 shots, pairs and rinks is first, fours is 21 ends, and triples is 18 ends. So it depends on how many players are playing. The more players, the less bowls you have.
The idea is to get your woods as close to the jack as possible. You get 1 point for being closest to the jack, and then score 1 additional point for every wood that is closer to the jack than any opponent bowl. In this example, red scores 3 points, as 3 of their woods are closer than the nearest opponent bowl. In this example, red only scores 1 point, as only 1 of the woods is closer to the jack than their nearest opponent bowl. Once all the woods have been bowled, the score is recorded, and this is known as an end. A new end will begin from that side, bowling in the opposite direction. Crown green bowling.
This is where it gets confusing because I don't even know what. I know what crown green bowling is. It's like you just bowl wherever the hell you want. So this is learning for me.
Crown green bowling is the lesser known variety of the sport and is generally played in the north of England.
See?
There is no standard measurement for the green, but on average it measures around 45 square yards.
Any old bit of grass will do.
This game is only played outdoors. The biggest difference in this game is that the green surface is not flat. There is a mound in the middle of the green, known as a crown, that players have to negotiate when playing their woods. Not only do they have to control the bias of the woods, but also figure out the slope of the green. To start the game, a player will place a mat 1 yard away from the edge of the green.
It's just
Whilst
you
stood on
bowl
the
anywhere.
mat, they will roll a larger jack down the green, but this time they can roll it in any direction.
What's interesting as well is so in lawn bowls, you literally, there are rinks. So you bowl up and down on your rink. There might be a rink next to you. In crown green, from what I remember, you can I think you can almost put your little tiny little mat anywhere around the edge, chuck the jack down, but there'll be other people doing the same. So your balls, your woods end up crisscrossing, and it's madness. It's madness.
And the jack must be played where it lies. There is no centering of the jack, and it must travel at least 21 yards for it to be valid.
Oh, it looks cold up there. You can tell it's northern because none of them really have any proper uniform.
The aim of the game is the same, but this time, players only have 2 woods each, and they're significantly smaller than flat green woods. They take it in turns to try and get their woods closer to the jack than their opponent, and scoring is exactly the same as well. Once all the woods have been
Just
bowled
mayhem.
and the score is recorded, a new end begins at the spot where the jack had previously landed. In crown green bowling, the entire green is fair game, and there are no rinks. So if there's multiple people playing, you have to watch out for other people's oncoming jacks and
It's
balls.
just mayhem.
You'll notice that the woods seem to curl down the green. This is because the woods are not uniform. One side is heavier than the other because it's shaped differently. This is known as the bias, and different woods will have different levels of bias depending on player preference.
So here are mine. That side is apparently the heavier side. That's the lighter side. I'm not sure how much you can really notice. I think I wouldn't necessarily notice it that easily. I think it's not easy, but it bends inwards on that side. Now I've got what you call Drake's Pride. That's the maker's professional, and that's the make of wood. These are sort of a medium. They're not too skinny, not too wide. They're somewhere in between. But what the joy is of playing indoor bowls is you know exactly how your wood is going to bowl every time. What's special about outdoor bowls is every green, your bowl reacts differently. And so it's a different test. It's learning the green, it's playing against the green and your opponent at the same time, because you've got to work out what is your bowl going to do each time, because it reacts differently. On my home green, we've got quite a slow green. You have to put a little bit more force. They don't bend as much. But on really fast greens, you put a little less effort in, and they normally swing a bit more because there's less friction on the wood. Now, it's interesting because there are so many different types of bowls now that do all sorts. A lot more straighter woods coming in, which a lot of people don't like, but a lot of coloured woods. Hopefully the coloured woods is what's bringing in more younger people. Bowls is catching up with the times, and little things like having coloured bowls. Normally they used to be black or brown. Coming in with different colours now is that hopefully is bringing in the younger people. Little things like that, being able to bowl in shorts, coloured tops, team tops. Hopefully things like that are bringing bowls into more of a modern era.
There's a lot of strategy involved in this game,
A lot.
and whilst it's not the most physically demanding sport in the world,
You'll be amazed. The amount of old people that do suffer.
it requires a great deal of skill, dexterity,
And mental.
and strategy.
Mental is huge.
That's basically both forms of bowls, but there's a few other things that you'll need to know about before playing or watching a game. For example, format. Different games and tournaments have different ways of deciding who wins. You could win by points, i.e. the first
Yeah.
one to score 21
That's
points
normally
wins.
singles.
You could win by playing sets.
That sets is normally at a high level competition at like the World Indoor Bowls. They play set play, so it's I think 7 ends, 7 ends, 7 ends, a little bit like tennis.
i.e. the first one to score 8 points wins a set, the first one to 3 sets is the winner. Or you could play by ends, i.e. the highest amount after 10 ends wins.
And that's normally when you play pairs, triples, or fours.
Forehand, backhand. When you curl the ball towards the direction of the palm of your hand, this is known as a forehand shot in flat green bowling, or a finger peg in crown green bowling. When you curl the ball away from the direction of the palm of your hand, this is known as a backhand shot in flat green bowling, or thumb peg in crown green bowling.
And you quite often find that players actually have a preference. I think my preference is a backhand because it feels more comfortable. I'm fine to bowl a forehand, but I think backhand is my favourite. It just flows out of your body a little bit better.
Types of shot. There's generally 4 types of shot that bowlers use to deliver their woods down the green.
A draw, which is just bowling dead on the jack. A fire, which is a sort of a running wood, bowling it heavy, trying to take a wood out, trying to take the jack out, playing aggressive. I don't know what the other two would be. A blocker, maybe a blocker. So you're trying to get in the line of the next bowl to try and stop them getting in. And maybe a covering wood, which goes behind just in case they knock the jack back. I think that's 4. Draw, fire, blocker, covering wood.
A draw shot
Draw.
is a strategically placed wood, where the bowler tries to put the ball in a
It's not
specific
strategic,
area.
that's just the standard shot.
A guard shot is used to get into the way of your opponent.
That is not a guard shot. A guard, and I would say what you'd normally call it a blocker. A blocker might be in front here or in front here to try and stop them being able to draw in because it would hit your wood first. None of them are blockers there. None of them are blockers.
A drive shot
Fire.
is used to take out your opponent's woods. And a trail shot is where a bowler will try and take the jack along with the ball to move
Yeah.
the jack closer to their own woods.
Maybe a running wood.
Ditch. In flat green bowling, the end of the rink is known as a ditch. This is a recess filled with sand.
Really? I've never seen a ditch filled with sand. It's a ditch at the end and around all the way around the sides. Ours is we've got AstroTurf in ours to soften it if the jack or the wood falls to not damage the woods. I've seen some with rubber mats. I've never seen sand.
If a ball does not touch the jack and lands in the ditch, the ball is dead and is disqualified from play.
Out.
If the ball does touch the jack, this is known as a toucher, and even if it lands in the ditch on this or any subsequent play,
That's why you spray
it's
it.
still live.
You spray it so people know that that's still alive if it goes in the ditch.
This is why you'll see umpires spraying woods with chalk. This is to denote a toucher. If the jack lands in the ditch, it's still live.
That's definitely an Australian. That's definitely in Australia because I don't know any greens that have sand.
And players will have a difficult time trying to get their wood to touch the jack whilst it's in the ditch. Dead end. In flat green bowling, if a jack is played, knocked,
Goes
or
outside.
encroaches another rink, then this is a dead end and the end is replayed in full. In crown green bowling, any play that results in the jack leaving the green is considered a dead end, and the end is replayed in full. That's a lot to take in, but as you watch or play bowls, the rules will become clear. If you found this video at all helpful,
So I think the main thing to think of in lawn bowls, it's throw the jack up, get as many woods close to the jack as possible. That's the easiest thing, and the woods have a bias. And so you got to think, why is it seen as an old person's sport? Now, granted, a lot of the matches are in the evening, some are during the day, which obviously can mess working people up. I'm so lucky in what I do work-wise that I can take time to play during the day, hence why I've just come back. Hence why I'm wearing this. I'm not just wearing this for the video, by the way. So that can be a tricky thing. A lot of leagues are played during the week and not necessarily on the weekends, so it's hard for working people. But there is no reason, play-wise, why it's just an old person's sport, because there's no difference between this and darts, snooker, precision sports. This is a precision sport. So there are plenty of young people playing. There are Charlie, my wife, plays for the Hampshire under 31s. There are plenty of young players in the area. Be great if there were more. Bear in mind, if you're playing at a young age, you've got a hell of a lot longer to get better and better before these old boys and girls that retire, and only then start taking it up. It's a fantastic sport. It really needs to be at the Olympics, and I don't know why it's not. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the explanation. Go out and practice. Go find your local club. If you're in the area, if you're in Hampshire, give me a shout. Give me a shout and you can come and play. I'll give you a game and I'll teach you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.